Right, it's quickly this morning. We're just going to get this pile out of the way, took it over to the courtyard. I cleared the courtyard up yesterday, finished off the wall, a little bit to do this morning, a little bit of render chipping off which I've just done. So we'll get this over, 3 or 4 barrelfuls. Then I want to clear this floor. There's a lot of stone and debris in here. We'll keep the natural stone, the nice bigger pieces for use in the wall, for rebuilding walls, etc. And the rest of it we'll barrow up and also take over there ready for the next skip coming whenever we decide that we want it, or when there's enough stuff to fill it anyway. So we'll crack on, get that done this morning, and then be able to start something different later on this afternoon. Hello. 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 This bit might look a bit painful in terms of kind of being meticulous and painstaking, I'm just separating the soil from the stone, and the good stones from the walls, etc. I'll put in that far room for use in rebuilding walls, etc. The rubble, that'll be a delivery. Sorry for being rudely interrupted. Yeah, as I was saying, the good stones, the natural stone's going to go into the far room for rebuilding the walls, etc. The rubble stone and bits of render and bits of old tiles, blocks, etc. are going to go on the waste pile ready for the next skip. And then when we get down to the soil, we'll use it for now just for infilling these holes, just so I can get this floor level, ready for doing the joists. So yeah, that's about the size of it. So I'm going to painstakingly go through these piles now, get all the little bits of stone and rubble and what have you out of it, and then various bits of rubbish just piled up here, old bits of wood, a pan lid, and God knows what. So carry on. I've got this room cleared out now, more or less. So I've worked my way to the door, and I'm kind of going to get sidetracked here a little bit. So I thought I would just clear all of this here. I'm pretty certain it's just going to be soil and mud from when the rain's been coming down. It's come down the pathway and it's built up here. I'm sure underneath here is going to be a nice sort of flagstone, a nice threshold, one piece of stone as there is on the other door, which I've just quickly cleaned up to show you that. Really nice. Same on the far door downstairs. So I thought I'll quickly clear this lot here. It needs clearing because it's I need to know kind of where this you know, where the threshold is height wise, so it needs to be done, but also it's I just want to do it really. So grab my tools and we'll get on with it. Right, next task, I want to get this room cleared. So ideally I'd like these barrels out. Probably want to put them in the next room. It's touch and go whether this is the slightly bigger one, will actually go through the doorway in there. It'll go out of this doorway. This doorway is slightly wider, but that one's a little bit shallower, so I think it might just go. It's a little bit difficult to measure because of, well, the fact that it bulges out of the centre. You can measure it across the top and add a bit on, but it's a bit hit and miss. But I thought, well, if I put my tape measure through the little hole in it, and obviously keep it taut, that'll give me the measurement to the inside, and then I should be able to measure the thickness of the wood on this side, and that will more or less give me a diameter, really, shouldn't it? Let's have a look, see what we think. So that's around about 90. We've got about 3 from the inside to the strapping. So that's 93 by my maths. I think the doorway currently is 92, so I'm probably going to have to chip that render off. Yeah. So we'll get these out of here. They're creating a lot of shadow, it's quite dark. I want to carry on chipping the floor down, getting it something like level, so that we can then go on eventually and get these beams replaced. So yeah, let's crack on. Right, now for this this chest. Although it's the dimensions, I mean, I can get it out of this door and in the other door without too much problems. Obviously it's quite heavy, it's a bit awkward. And I don't really need to be moving it out of here. If I can get it back where it was, under the front window, that area there is pretty level and it looks very, very close to the level of the step as well. So I think if I put it back there, I won't need to move it again. I can get into the other corner of the room, the other side of it, when it's in place, if I need to do. And then that's going to give me the whole of the rest of the area free and clear. I can you know, move about easily enough, and we can start to, or continue anyway, chipping away at this floor and see if we can get it something like level. Yeah, so that's it really. Nothing more to add at this stage. So we'll get this shifted. So that's this area just cleared and brushed and you know, sorted for now. It's actually pretty level here, as I've just said. Some of this area here that's kind of whiter than the rest, it is actually just compacted, you know, dirt and debris. I've just chipped out a lump here of bulge, and there's probably about, I don't know, 6, 7, 8 centimetre mound of just compacted dirt. So I think some of these bulges in the middle of the floor are going to be quite easy to level, but obviously time will tell. So we'll get this chest moved, and I think I should probably clean the rest of the floor, because I think that's going to make it far easier for me to you know, to see what's what really. Okay. Right, it's that time of the week again, Sunday, so we're all over here. Plain and simply, we're just going to take the render off this wall. It's the little room in just off the courtyard that we did a load of work in a couple of weeks back. So since it's a nice day and we're getting everybody involved, we thought we'll come over here and do this wall. We've got approximately a little bit over half of it to do, and a bit round the corner. And if we get that done and we get a bit of time, we'll probably start with this pillar at the top of the stairs here, but knowing my estimations of what we're going to get done, we probably won't get to that. So in theory, Becky's going to start at one end, I'll start at the other.
And we won't meet in the middle.
No, somewhere near, more or less is good enough. So we'll crack on, get the tools going and see how we get on.
Hey?
Big bit.
That was easy.
So hopefully you've just seen me whizzing around getting some measurements for the floor joists. Hopefully going to be visiting a few wood yards this week, and we can get some joists here hopefully within the next couple of weeks. We can get on with that job. It'd be nice to have them in the next month to 6 weeks maybe. We've got a few days off mid-May. I'd certainly like to have that job done by then, and then when we come back start thinking about what we're going to do with the ceiling structure, the roof structure. We'd like to put in, I've been thinking a lot about what we want to put in, what we want to do. You know, we're going through the thought process of putting in just some standard sort of modern laminated beams, joists, and covering them, you know, boarding them out, which is great for you know, putting utilities in and one thing and another, wiring and plumbing and one thing, you know, etc, etc. But I've gone off the idea, and I certainly don't want to put them in and have them exposed, because while they look okay, it's not suitable, you know, for us, for this building. If we're going to put something in, we want it on show. I want to try and replicate that structure, you know, that those joists that are in there, that setup as it is now. I want to try and replicate that, so I want a nicer hardwood, something, you know, oak, chestnut, whatever. So we need to go and have a chat, see what they can come up with. Hopefully we can get something along those lines, something that's got a nice look to it, a nice grain. And you know, I've also been thinking, while the long central beam is, you know, at each end it's significantly distressed, shall we say. If we're putting single joists in, full span of obviously sufficient thickness and strength, that doesn't need to be there to support anything. However, it can stay just basically so we've got that same look. Take the ends off, cut them down to roughly where they're reasonable, make sure they're stable, and you know, clean it, treat it, oil it, wax it, whatever. Because it's not supporting anything, it doesn't really matter if you know, it's not structurally up to the job. It's just there for show, basically. So that's what I'm thinking about doing. That could change, of course, as a lot of, you know, my ideas and thoughts as we go along, we keep revealing stuff, and you know, slowly, you know, things are developing. So that's what we're thinking about doing. So hopefully, if I've got my measurements right, we should be able to get in the right beams for the job. It's quite interesting because they're basically, all of the beams that are already in are around 40 centimetre gaps in between, which is basically what, you know, pretty much exactly what you do with the new ones. So it makes my job easier, you know, just count how many's in there. Then I measure it. Obviously I've measured it 2 or 3 times to make sure we're 100%. Yeah, we should be okay. In theory. So
He's got all his helpers.
Yes, we're fully equipped today. So we're well equipped for today's task. So that's what we're going to do today. No more rendering, I'm afraid.